Quiet now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind. You're going to dance until your feet fall off. You're not able to stand up any longer. But we're going to have a show.
Welcome to today's episode of the Pink Door Podcast. Today we'll be discussing manufactured housing communities, particularly those designed for the 55-plus demographic, and the unique consumer protections afforded to residents. Okay, so let's jump right in. I think for a lot of people, the term mobile home park still brings up this sort of outdated, maybe even negative image.
Yes, that's definitely a hurdle.
But what we're seeing now is a total reinvention. These are attractive, modern homes, and they're becoming a really practical and, frankly, affordable option for retirement, especially in a place like Massachusetts.
It's a huge shift. And, affordability is what gets people in the door. But the real story here, and the reason we need to do this deep dive, is the ownership model itself.
Right.
Because residents, they usually own their house, the physical building, but they're renting the land it's on.
And that's the fundamental issue, isn't it? That split between owning the house but renting the dirt underneath it.
That's the whole ballgame. It creates a power imbalance. Once a home is installed, with the decks, the skirting, the landscaping, it's not really mobile anymore.
You can't just hitch it up and drive away.
Exactly. Moving it is a huge expense and risks damaging the home's integrity. So that's the leverage point. And that's precisely why Massachusetts law, with the Manufactured Housing Act and Attorney General's regs, has built this fortress of protection around the resident.
So that's our mission today. To really dig into how these specific laws take what sounds like a risky setup and turn it into something surprisingly stable, especially for a downsizer who's 55 plus.
We're basically looking at how good regulation can create real peace of mind, and Massachusetts is a perfect case study for that.
Okay, so let's start with the appeal. Why are so many retirees looking at this model in the first place? It seems to solve a big problem with retirement finances.
It absolutely does. You've spent decades building equity in a home, but to use it, you have to sell. This model fills that niche perfectly.
You don't want to go back to being a full-time renter with no asset.
Right. This is one of the biggest sources of unsubsidized affordable home ownership out there. For a 55-plus buyer, you sell the big family house, free up a huge chunk of equity, and your monthly costs just plummet.
And that's massive when you're moving on to a fixed income. That extra cash isn't just for fun, it's for, healthcare, emergencies.
It's a financial buffer. It's peace of mind.
Yeah.
But beyond the money, there's the lifestyle. I mean, these homes are almost purpose-built for aging in place.
Single-level living, right. No stairs.
No stairs is a huge one, but also just a smaller footprint, less to clean, less to maintain. It's all designed for low-stress, independent living.
There's a third piece to this, too, which I think gets underrated, and that's the community itself. Isolation is a real danger for older adults.
It's a major health risk.
Yeah.
And these communities are, by their very nature, designed to fight that. There are common areas, activities. You see your neighbors.
That an informal support system.
You do.
Yeah.
And that network helps people stay independent and just thrive for longer than if they were alone in a big suburban house.
Okay, so if the community aspect is so central, we have to talk about how they legally create a 55-plus environment. How does a park qualify to have those age restrictions?
This is where buyers need to do their homework because it's all about federal and state law. You can't just put up a sign that says adult living.
So there's a legal definition of a qualifying retirement community.
There is. In Massachusetts, it has to have been constructed expressly for use as housing for persons 55 or over or 62 or over, and it has to be in lockstep with the Federal Fair Housing Act.
So let's talk about the most common one, the 55 plus. What's the main rule there?
That's the 80-20 rule. It's pretty straightforward, actually.
Oh.
At least 80% of the occupied homes must have at least one person living there who is 55 years of age or older.
So it's not that everyone has to be 55.
Correct. As long as one resident in the home meets the age requirement, that home counts towards the 80%. The park also has to, publish its policies and verify ages to prove it's really a 55-plus community.
So they can be stricter if they want, like, say, 90%.
Oh, absolutely. They can be stricter, but they can't go below that 80% federal floor.
And what about the 62 and over communities? Are they different?
Much stricter. For those, pretty much every single person in every home has to be 62 or older. There are very few exceptions.
Okay, let's get into the protections that balance out that land rent risk. You mentioned a 5-year lease. That sounds like a big deal.
It is the cornerstone of stability in Massachusetts. The park owner is legally required to offer a written 5-year lease to any new or renewing resident.
A 5-year guarantee on your lot rent? That's huge for someone on a fixed income trying to budget.
It's phenomenal security. And it has to be at a fair market rate, and it's still subject to any local rent control laws that might exist.
So it prevents that month-to-month anxiety where you're always worried about a huge rent hike coming with 30 days notice.
It completely eliminates that. It gives you predictability, which is what this demographic needs more than anything else.
Stability is also about the rules, though. That's another area where a landlord could have all the power, right? Making up new rules on a whim.
They could, and that's why the law is so strict here. First, all rules have to be in writing and enforced uniformly. No picking on one resident.
Okay.
But the real teeth in the law is the review process. Any new rule has to be submitted for approval to the Attorney General's office, the AGO, and the State Housing Agency, the EOHLC.
So the state itself has to sign off on any rule change before it can even happen?
Yes, exactly. They act as a filter to make sure the rules are fair and legal. And there's a timeline. The owner has to post the proposed rules for residents to see at least 75 days before they take effect.
Giving people time to object.
Right, and they have to formally submit them to the state at least 60 days before. This whole process is designed to prevent those gotcha rules.
Let's talk about selling. If I own the home, my asset, what stops the park owner from blocking a sale because they want my older home gone?
The law stops them. You have a statutory right to sell your home right there on its lot. The owner cannot force you to remove it.
Can they reject my buyer?
Only for very specific reasons, like if the buyer doesn't meet the age requirement or can't show they can afford the rents. They can't just say, I don't like them.
And they can't try to steer buyers to their own new homes for sale?
No, that's illegal. They can't interfere with your private sale. And, they can inspect the lot to make sure it's in good shape. They generally have no right to inspect the inside of your home. That's your property.
We've covered individual stability, but the big fear for everyone must be, what if the entire park is sold to a new owner?
That is the ultimate threat. And it's addressed by something called the right of first refusal, or ROFR.
Okay, what is that?
If the owner gets an offer to buy the whole community, they have to notify all the residents first. It gives the residents, as a group, the chance to buy the park themselves.
How does that work? I mean, organizing dozens of retirees to buy a multi-million-dollar property sounds difficult.
It's very complex, no doubt. But the law provides a path. If an association representing at least 51% of the homes votes to do it, they get the right to match the third-party offer.
Do you see that happen often?
It happens. Sometimes they partner with nonprofits that specialize in this. But even the threat of it is powerful. It forces transparency and gives residents leverage to secure their own future, often as a resident-owned cooperative.
Okay, so that handles a new owner. But what about the absolute worst-case scenario? The owner decides to just close the park and build condos.
That's the scenario the law protects against most fiercely. To do that, the owner must give every single resident a minimum of 2 years written notice.
2 years? Wow.
And it has to be done in good faith. For instance, if residents just organize to report violations and suddenly the owner issues a closure notice 6 months later, the law presumes that's retaliation, not good faith.
That's smart. It protects tenants who speak up.
It does. And there's another layer. If you bought your home directly from the park owner, they can't terminate your tenancy for a park closure for 5 full years after you bought it.
And if it does close, after all that, are residents just out of luck financially?
Absolutely not. The law mandates compensation. Basically, the resident gets a choice. Option A, the owner pays for the entire cost of moving your home to a new site within 100 miles.
The whole thing. Disconnecting, moving, reconnecting.
The whole thing. Or option B, the owner buys the home from you at its fair market value, plus the replacement cost of the lot. It ensures you're not financially wiped out.
The protections are impressive, but it sounds like a buyer still needs to be really careful. What are the key due diligence items?
Absolutely. First, get a handle on the lot rent and any hidden costs. Ask for an itemized list of all fees. And critically, find out if the town had local rent control. That's a huge extra layer of protection.
And I imagine you need to verify that the rules are actually enforced fairly.
Yes. Talk to people who already live there. Ask them, is management consistent? The law says rules must be applied uniformly, and your future neighbors are the best source of truth on that.
What about paperwork? What am I entitled to see before I sign?
The owner is required to give you a written disclosure package. It has to include the rent, the fees, the rules, the exact dimensions of your lot, any known defects with the site.
And the 5-year lease option.
And they must disclose and offer you that 5-year lease. You should get all of this in writing with plenty of time to review it before you commit to anything.
Last question on this resale value. Does it behave like a normal house on the market?
Not exactly, and that's a key thing to understand. The value of your home is deeply tied to the quality and reputation of the community itself. A well-run park with stable rents will help your home hold its value. A poorly run one will hurt it. The land is never part of your asset.
So this all comes back to that initial point. The structure of owning the home but renting the lot creates this risk. But it really seems like the law in a place like Massachusetts has stepped in to balance the scales.
It's a perfect example of how a legal framework can fix a power imbalance. The 5-year lease, the state oversight of rules, the extreme difficulty of closing a park. All of it works together to create real stability.
It takes this model from being a potentially risky venture to a genuinely secure and attractive option for the 55-plus buyer.
It does. It lets them focus on the benefits, the affordability, the lifestyle, the community, without having to worry constantly about losing their home.
It's about turning that risk into genuine peace of mind. That's a great place to leave it. If you have any questions about this episode, or if you are thinking about buying or selling a house anywhere on Boston's South Shore from Southie to Sagamore, give Jim Aldred a call. He would love to help you. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on the Pink Door Podcast.